Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome back to my channel, Lisa Loves Leaves. Now before I get started, just want to apologise for there not being any videos up recently. I know I said in probably the last video that I uploaded, or the one before that, I'm not sure which one it was, that I was going to try and put up more videos. Unfortunately, level 4 kind of got in the way of that. As I'm an essential worker, I've been doing extra hours. So last week I did, I think, 50 hours. I'm working 7 days a week for the whole of level 4. So yeah, I haven't really had much time to film, and when I have been at home I've just been trying to like relax and recover. But anyway, my partner's just gone for a walk, so I thought I would film this video and yeah, try and get one up for you guys, and who knows when the next one will be up. I'll try do one soon, but yeah, if I can't put any videos up for the next few weeks, please bear with me. Yeah, it's just level 4. So anyway, today's video is going to be my top 8 fussiest plants, or plants that I have owned that have hated me. Majority of them I still do have. If I still own one, then I will let you know like any solutions that I found to the issues that I had with them. There are a few on this list that I no longer have. If I can find a picture of the plant when I did have it, I'll pop it up on the screen in case you don't know what the plant is that I'm talking about. So hopefully there should be an example of all of the plants. Fingers crossed. So yeah, anyway, I think we will just get started and get into that. Okay, so the first plant on my list is a Calathea, and disclaimer, at least 4 of these are going to be pre-plant species. So the majority of them I kind of had the same issues. So the first one is Calathea vittata, so that's this guy here. He is very cute. So this is one of the fussiest Calatheas in my opinion. He did come as a big beautiful full plant, but I lost a lot of leaves. You can see kind of the issue that I had on some of the leaves here. So like this one for example, if you can see, it's got like a crispy tip. And with this one here, I think those were original kind of leaves. Had that happen with all of the leaves, but the whole leaf would go brown. So I did have this guy sitting in a kind of a low lightish spot and just out in just this living space here. The general advice for pre-plants is to keep them moist all of the time, but if you've seen my Calathea video, I do not do that. As you can see, he's nice and dry. I let my Calatheas dry out. So this, I think this might have been the latest leaf that has grown, either that one or this one. As you can see, they are fine. They don't have any crisp like those older leaves do. So what I've basically done for him, which I think I also said in my pre-plant video, just very briefly, I chucked it into the bathroom. There's more light in the bathroom, it's way more humid, and I started to let it dry out between waterings, and I have had a lot more success with it since doing that. So no more curly brown leaves, apart from the 2 that you can see here, but they are old leaves from when it was living out here before I put in my bathroom. These 4, which all look, actually this is the newest leaf because it's the lightest, just realised. These 4 leaves here, which all look fine, don't have any crispy leaves, are the leaves that have grown since I moved him to my bathroom. This guy in particular is a Calathea I find needs a lot more humidity than most. Some Calathea are pretty happy with like 60 to 70% kind of thing. This guy is like 80 or more, I would say. So yeah, that is Calathea vittata. My second one I will briefly show you because it's pretty much the same. It had the same things happening, and I've done the same thing to make it grow nice again, and that is my Calathea zebrina. So this is actually my second one. My first one just completely died. It got root rot and it was just a complete mess. So same thing, the issue that I had with it is same for Calathea vittata. All the leaves were going brown and crispy, and not just the tips, eventually the entire leaf would go brown and gross. So I cut off all those ugly leaves. There's still a few leaves on here that did have some crisp, but I've just chopped the edges off. Again, moved it from a really low light spot with not much extra humidity into my bathroom, sits beside my Calathea vittata, and let it dry out between waterings, and this is what it is looking like And now, so overall, he's looking pretty good. Mostly all of these leaves are really nice, no crisp, looking super happy. So yeah, I wanted to mention both of those two together because they kind of had the same issue and I've done the same solution, which I think they've been living in my bathroom for about 6 months now and not had any issues with them since moving them in there. That's those two. Super fussy, but so far so good. Okay, next we'll take a break from Calathea because I do have 2 more Calathea to talk about. So the next one I will show you is this guy. So a Snow Queen pothos or marble queen. If you don't know, a marble queen looks like this. It is similar to a golden pothos, but it's got white creamy variegation rather than gold yellowy variegation. So this is a marble queen leaf. And these are also marble queen leaves, but they are more widely known as snow queens here in New Zealand, which just means it's a marble queen with extra good variegation, so much more white and a lot less green. So this guy, I have found him to be quite fussy in terms of watering levels. So I've also heard this from a few other people saying that they are very prone to root rot, which is also my experience. So the reason that I'm putting this guy into my fussiest plants / plants that hate me category is that I did have a big beautiful one of these snow queens. I will pop a picture up here of what it used to look like. It was stunning. It was one of my top favorite plants that I had. Then completely out of the blue, in summertime no less, root rot. So it just started to get lots of yellow leaves. I didn't know what was going on. I checked the roots, they seemed fine, still kept getting yellow leaves. Checked the roots again like about a week later and completely rotten. So yeah, and I still can't really figure out what happened with that, as I don't believe that I overwatered it. A lot of the other times when I've had a plant suffer from root rot, I'm like, yeah, I definitely did overwater that, but this is the one plant that I'm pretty sure I didn't overwater. So yeah, I'm not really too sure about that. I've heard some people also say that they don't even water their snow queens / marble queens. Like one lady was telling me she hadn't watered it for 3 months or something. That seems really risky to me because I don't understand how they could survive without any water. But basically what happened was I cut up my plant into about 30 or 40 cuttings. There was a lot of cuttings. And all of the cuttings rotted, whether they were in water or spag moss, they all rotted apart from these ones that you see here. There is about 4 or 5 cuttings in here, including this cutting that I was given and wasn't part of the original plant. So there's, yeah, like 4 or 5 cuttings in here out of the 30 or 40 that I had that survived. And I've chucked it into fern fibre. And because I'm kind of just over it, I just let him sit on my shelf like right here, and he sits there and he doesn't have like too much extra light and doesn't have any extra humidity or warmth, so I couldn't be bothered chucking it into a prop box or into my fish tank because I'm just so over it. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put it in the fern fibre and see what happens. So he's just growing in fern fibre rather than soil, and I treat the fern fibre like I would soil, so when it's dry then I give it a water. And yeah, so far it hasn't died. It's got a few little leaves growing, so that's promising. I can see a few roots, so that's good. Some of these cuttings weren't even rooted when I chucked them in here either. So yeah, it's surviving. It's not doing a whole lot, but it's alive. So yeah, that's him. I'm just gonna continue to keep him in here in this fern fibre, and yeah, I don't know, we'll see what happens, but for now that's my sort of solution for now. That is him. Okay, the next plant I want to talk about is one that I do still own, but I haven't really figured it out yet still. I kind of have an idea of what I need to do to solve it, but whether that is possible or not is another thing. So this is my Peperomia maculosa, and I don't know if it's just me, but I've just had terrible luck with this specific Peperomia. Most Peperomias I find really easy to care for and look after, but this one in particular I have had issues with. So this is actually my second plant of these. My first one died and I had a lot of issues with it over the year or so that I had it. For one thing, I overwatered it when I first got it. I was very new to plants and I didn't know anything really about Peperomia species, and I didn't realise they're quite like a succulent type, so you should definitely be careful when watering them, and I was watering it too much. So one of the main signs of that was it was losing leaves, and another thing was a lot of the leaves got oedemas. So if you don't know what an oedema is, I'll show you, because this leaf actually has some on it. So you can see, if you can see, there's like a little black dot here. I'll turn it over and you can see more easily these black dots. So basically that is a sign of overwatering. So you can get oedemas when you have overwatered your plant, and it's basically cell walls are bursting. So yeah, I overwatered it anyway. I really reduced the watering on that guy, but it's still not enough, and he did eventually die of fruit rot. I also had a lot of problems along the way with him with calcium deficiency. So I can see this guy also has a calcium deficiency. So basically, if you don't know, peperomia are very, it's very common for peperomia to have calcium deficiency, so they just don't have enough calcium. A sign of them having a calcium deficiency is the leaves get quite, they kind of grow in almost folded. So I'll show you, this leaf is a prime example of a calcium deficiency. So you can see it's not flat, it is curved like that, and that's how it has grown in, and it's quite hard. Also with calcium deficiencies, the leaves are very easy, it's very easy to break the leaf. So this leaf is broken, as you can see, so I need to actually just cut that bit off, and it's also got a hole in it which happened before the bit broke off. It's just a lot easier to break the leaves when they have calcium deficiencies as well, and it just doesn't look very nice when the leaves are all like that. So ideally these leaves should be nice and flat, not curved or rounded like that. Humidity can also help as well, so it could be a combination of the two. So not enough calcium but also not enough humidity is what kind of makes these leaves grow like that. So obviously my solution would be to give this guy more calcium. So I'll probably do a video on this at some point about the whole calcium debate, but anyway, I'll just say I would give it more calcium, so in forms of fertilizer. So yeah, if you want to know more about calcium deficiencies and the calcium debate and what it all is, and which includes like milky water, please let me know, and I can do a separate video on that, because it's, yeah, I don't want to take up too much time talking about that. But so that is one solution. Another is I could also chuck him in my fish tank, which might also help, but I don't have any room in there at the moment, so that's not going to be happening. So he's going to stay out here. So I'll probably just do fertilizing and see how we go. For that reason is one of the reasons why I find Peperomia maculosa to be quite a fussy, hard to care for plant, because they're very prone to the calcium deficiency, but also I just can't get their watering right when I try not to water it very often. So at the moment it's very dry. One way to tell if a peperomia needs a water is if its leaves are quite thin and flimsy and you can bend them really easily, then that could be a sign that they need water. If they're quite hard and you can't do that, then they're probably fine, and I would just leave it for a few more days or a week or whatever, set depending on what season you're in. Yeah, I just find it super fussy, but it's okay, we'll just keep experimenting and we'll get there in the end. So yeah, that is Peperomia maculosa. Okay, another plant that I have really struggled with in the past, but I think I've got it sussed now, is variegated chain of hearts. So this is my one here. I don't want to tip it too much because all the soil will fall out. How cute is this pot? I got this pot from Itsy Leaf. I'll put a link down below. It's actually just a saucer and I drilled a hole in the bottom. I'll pop a link up at the top for how to drill holes into pots if you would like to know. Anyway, so variegated chain of hearts, he is fine now. I've actually got 2 cuttings in there. He's doing well. So I originally got a couple leaf cutting in a plant trade back when these were really expensive and hard to come by. Really excited. So I was talking to a girl on Instagram and she has amazing ones of these. So good. And she recommended that I keep the cutting in pumice. So that's what I did. And anyway, it was just not a good idea. I know that it worked for her, but it did not work for me at all. Every time a leaf would grow, and then about a couple of days later the leaf would fall off, and then the leaf before that would fall off. So it would grow a leaf, then lose a leaf, then grow a leaf, then lose a leaf, and this was happening for quite a little while. So it was just not growing. I think it might have maybe 4 leaves when I first got it, and then I got down to like 1 or 2. So yeah, it was an issue. So basically what I did was I just put it into a normal soil mix, and that solved everything. I chucked it into a spot with a bit more light as well, and yeah, ever since then it has been fine. So what was happening was the roots were just staying quite dry, and they were never really getting enough water to maintain the leaves on it. So yeah, as soon as I chucked it into soil, it was able to retain more water, and since the roots were quite small and thin anyway, it had like more to grip onto, whereas in the pumice it just couldn't really grip onto anything. So yeah, that was my solution. The other thing that happened was I also, before I tried put it into the soil mix, I also tried putting it in a grow pod, but it actually lost leaves in that too. So I found that too much humidity, it didn't do so well with either. Basically, I just keep him in this pot of normal cactus mix, a little bit of pumice, and when the leaves get quite thin, then I give it a water. But they are quite plump at the moment, so I'm gonna leave it for a few days. So yeah, very good chain of hearts for me. I just had so many issues with it, but now he is fine, no more issues. He is all sorted, thank goodness. Okay, the next 2 plants I'm going to include, I'm going to talk about them together. Both of them I no longer own, but I did own them. So these 2 plants are also Calathea, so I'm going to just talk about them together because they kind of had the same issues. So Calathea medallion and Calathea orbifolia. So both of them I've just had so many issues with. I haven't actually had a medallion since I started letting the plants dry out. I've actually had 2 Calathea medallions, both of them died. The first one had mealybug and then he just never recovered, and then the second one just had really bad root rot and all of the leaves went black and fell off, and then I was just like, ugh, I give up. So like I said at the time, I was not actually letting them dry out between watering, so I think that it was just too moist all the time, and then that caused root rot, and so it died. So if I did ever purchase one again, I would make sure that I would be not keeping it so wet. The other thing that happened was I also think that it just didn't have enough light as well, because it was in a low light spot. So again, if I had a medallion, I'd probably put it in a better light situation. But yeah, I just don't have the time or patience for that right now. And orbifolia, similar situation. So this is my Calathea orbifolia that I did have. He was big and beautiful. I ended up selling him. I've been through 2 of those as well. The first one, all the leaves just lost their patterning and went black and yeah, like folded up. The second one, not so bad, but I could see he was starting to go the same way, so I sold it before he got any worse. Orbifolia, again, I think it was not enough light and not enough humidity. I think that I could have just solved it all by putting him in my bathroom, but unfortunately, because he's so tall, I just didn't have anywhere to put him. My Calathea that I have in the bathroom all sit on my sink, but we have like a mirror kind of unit that sits on the wall above, and he couldn't fit below that, so I couldn't put him on the sink because I wouldn't be able to open the door. So, and I had nowhere else I could put him, and yeah, so I had to get rid of him, unfortunately. I would definitely buy an orbifolia again and try again when I have the space and availability. Both of those guys just hate me. Okay, the next plant I will talk about is the sky string of turtles, or Peperomia prostrata. If you saw, I can't even remember what video it was, I think it might have been a haul or something. I potted this guy into like a nice white pot. Anyway, I just found that the pot wasn't draining very well, and the roots were just too small for the amount of soil that was in that pot, so I've repotted him into a smaller terracotta pot, and I've now popped him in my fish tank as well. So the reason I'm going to talk about this guy is, so back in the day when these were really expensive, I had a cutting, I would say maybe this big, very small, and honestly I had that cutting for over a year, maybe a year and a half, not exactly sure, I just could not get it to grow. So that is why this guy is in my fussy plants, because I had so much trouble getting it to grow. Like, it just would not do anything for months and months and months and months and months. And I tried so many different things, like different light. I tried keeping it in a prop box, on a heat pad, just so many things. It just didn't work. I eventually got it sort of going not too long ago, and then these guys came out, and so I just picked up a nice big one. And I find that once they are nice and well established, they're a lot less fussy and they're much easier to care for and to grow. But when I did have that small one, yeah, the issue I had was, I think when I did have it in a prop box and it was getting extra humidity, it just didn't have enough light. So I think that that is probably the main issue that I had with it. So I definitely, if you are growing one of these from a cutting, I definitely recommend it has a decent amount of light, so bright and direct, not too much light, because I've seen a lot of these get burnt. So you don't want it to have it in a direct light situation, so like medium to bright, but a nice amount, definitely not low light, I would say. And also lots of humidity. So when I did finally get it going off, what I did was I had it in quite a thin shallow pot, just a normal soil mix, and I had it in on a windowsill, and this was like in still autumn then, so it wasn't direct light, but it was bright light. And I just put some Glad wrap over the top with a few holes in it, and that's when it went off. So yeah, I definitely recommend for these guys, if you're growing it from a small cutting, a good amount of light and lots of humidity is the key. So yeah, but that is why he is on my list of fussy plants, or plants that hate me. Yeah. Okay, and the last plant I have to talk about is this guy. I said before I was going to mention it, Peperomia watermelon, Peperomia, sorry, or Peperomia variegated. So this guy's looking amazing, but the reason that this guy is in my fussy plants is this is my second one of these. So my first one I did get from Plant Project, which this one also is from, and it did come beautiful. But by the end of his time with me, he didn't die or anything. I sold him, but he was just looking a mess. Again, lots of crispy leaves. He was all floppy, so he wasn't sitting up nice and straight like this guy. He was kind of like almost like the string of turtles. He was just like floppy and just not growing up straight and looking really nice, and there was lots of gaps as well. Yeah, he just didn't look great, and definitely a lot of calcium deficiency. So he had a lot of leaves that where's an example? I'll try to find a leaf that's not so great. He had a lot of leaves that had edges kind of like this, if you can see, but the whole way around the leaf. This guy's only got this one little bit, but all of the leaves were like that. Some of the leaves were really cupped. So yeah, definite calcium deficiency. So I kind of gave up on him, and I bought a new one, and I was like, cool, I'm just going to start from the beginning and give it all the conditions that it needs. And this guy is growing amazing, so I think that I've sussed it. So this guy I have not given any calcium to, so he has not had any extra calcium, and all his leaves look like they are fine. I can't see any leaves that look like they have a particular calcium deficiency. So what I've done is I've chucked him in my fish tank, and that seems to be working amazing. So I think these guys definitely like the extra humidity, and I think that humidity is a big factor in helping their leaves to stay looking nice like this and not like disformed. And he's got a lot of light, so that was the other thing, was my watermelon Peperomia didn't really have a lot of light. It was kind of in a medium light situation in summertime, but in winter it was a pretty low light. So he's under a grow light, and that's also helped a lot, I think, because you can see how like tall and together all of the stems are. So he's growing nice and together, whereas my other one, it was just growing all over the place in funny directions and all floppy. So yeah, I definitely think humidity is really important for these guys, as well as a good amount of light, so bright and direct. ideally. Some Peperomia are quite happy with medium light, but I think that these guys like a decent amount of light, so probably a little bit more than medium. Yeah, and you can see he's got so many flowers as well, and he's just looking stunning, so I'm hoping to keep him this way. The other thing I've done is I haven't even repotted him yet, so he's still in his original pot. That was another thing that I was worried about, is that I think that I might have repotted my one too early or too soon. It hadn't really adjusted. And I also think that I put him in a pot that was too big as well, so that also didn't help. So I'm just leaving him in here, and while he's happy I'm just going to leave him in here until I see roots coming out the bottom, because Peperomia, these ones in particular, have quite thin roots and not a lot of roots either. So I think that was another factor, was the roots were just disturbed a bit too early. So yeah, I'm going to keep him in this pot for as long as I can. And so far so good. But yeah, so at the moment I think he's pretty sussed, and I'm happy as long as he's looking like this. I'm pretty happy. So yeah, that is my last plant that I have to show you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and I would love it if you could subscribe. And if you have any feedback, I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. And if you have any suggestions of videos that you would like to see, also please let me know. I think I will definitely do one on the calcium debate and like Peperomia and calcium deficiencies, because I think that's really handy. And I might also do one on fertilization, because I'm probably going to be starting to fertilize my plants in the next week or a couple of weeks, because it's coming up to spring. So yeah, see you next time. Bye.